Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Galactic Nerd Outpost. I'm your host, Joey McGee, aka Gojin the Makai Phantom, and joining me is Cody Bratch and soon Forgotten Pharaoh.
Hello, folks. I'm happy to be back here again. He's totally holding me at gunpoint. Send help!
Essentially what we're going to do today is, recently Netflix has made an announcement that they're planning to make a live-action Death Note TV series, which there is one in Japan, but I have not seen it myself. But this is the first TV show America is planning to make, and you might be mixed on it after what the Adam Wingard movie received, which I am too, because I wasn't big on that film either, but it's apparently, I think it's going to be by the hands behind Stranger Things, if I remember correctly. And there's definitely potential.
Yeah, the Duffer Brothers.
Okay. And before we start this podcast, yes, I know, my fucking beard is growing back. So before the next person I end up trolling on Twitter gets pissy and checks and be like, oh, you got a shitty beard. It's like, bruh, I shave once a week to twice a week. If you have any form of testosterone, this stuff grows back fucking fast. But yeah, it does. That's it. So yes, I know, but that's what's gonna happen. So yeah, this stuff grows fast. So, but we
Honestly,
know everyone.
If you're worried about someone's beard, you need more things to about your day.
Yeah, probably jerks off to it. Probably. But yeah, yeah, I know. But speaking of such, this one person I trolled on Twitter, I call him to do that. He started essentially, he reported my tweets once I started flaming his ass. So essentially, I wasn't going to report him because I was laughing at him. But generally, when I saw it's like, oh, so you're a little thing on going by the Twitter rules here, eh? So I could play that game too, since you're kind of breaking their guidelines too. So you got the same treatment. Am I right?
Breaking the law.
Yeah, it's like, I ain't no snitch, but you're gonna report me. I'm gonna do it back. And then you go back and check my Twitter. I actually did a little public tweet of the screenshots of the whole situation. That shit's fucking gold. I think you could still find it by doing a little bit of scrolls because I don't post too much. But yeah, go and check that out. It was all over Leafy. And the thing is, he was like, oh, cunt and feather flock together. It's like, yeah, imagine using cunt as an insult. Damn right I'm a cunt. I'm not gonna hide that shit.
Bloody cuss.
Most definitely. But, anyway.
By the way, you're all welcome for the absolute worst fake British accent ever. You're welcome.
And didn't Judas Priest sing that song "Breaking the Law," if I remember correctly?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that song. Love the band too.
I do too. One of my
That's why when I saw an opportunity. One of the favorites is what?
One of my favorites of theirs is "Painkiller."
Oh, that song fucking shreds!
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to start singing it. I almost started, but then I'm just like, no, don't want to scare anyone away.
Yeah, nobody wants to hear you sing, but you know what? Probably better than hearing a Bis Kaiser thing. I will give you that.
Only by a little bit.
Yeah, probably, because that's not a hard bar to pass, not at all. Okay, but I think we
hell, who knows?
Huh?
I was gonna say, hell, who knows? Maybe you're a better singer than Abyss Kaiser.
Anybody is a better singer than fucking Abyss Kaiser, okay? That dude sounds like a fucking choking dog lying on the streets. That's what he sounds like.
Oh, trust me, I know. The motherfucker tried to serenade me with Knocking on Heaven's Door by Guns N' Roses.
Okay. But anyway, we should probably move on to Death Note discussion. Tried to kind of bring more variety in conversations on this, since it is a podcast, and most podcasts have a lot of things going on, more than just one topic. Plus, I want an audience to come in. But that being said, what's the first thing you'd have to say?
Well, I guess we should maybe inform whatever audience is going to see this or is seeing this, whoever they might be, and who is going to see this later on, a little bit about what Death Note is. Now, for those who don't know, Death Note was a manga series that was written by Tsugumi Oba. I'm sorry if I butchered that name. From what I understand, it was basically his idea, his concept, and the manga ran for 12 volumes and was published between December 1st, 2003 and May 15th, 2006. Hey, it stopped publishing on my birthday.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's the thing about Death Note, and since then, Death Note has honestly become a very popular story in the manga industry, and has gotten many adaptations, and many of them have been well received too, like the animated series and the Shusuke Kinoko live action movies. Which I haven't seen all the Shusuke Kinoko live action movies, but I have seen the first one, and I've heard great things about the sequels. Which I plan to actually rewatch the first and check out the sequels pretty soon, and you definitely go check those out. Most people generally will tell you those are really good movies, but then there's a side of the anime community being like that, oh, it's so bad, live action adaptations are shit. It's like, if there wasn't already an anime adaptation of it, you wouldn't be bitching about it. That's a big gripe I have with anime fans, because, like, for example, a lot of live action adaptations based on manga that are actually very well received, that are stuff that doesn't have an anime, like Old Boy, and Ichi the Killer, which got an anime prequel later, but that's about it. Kamen Rider the First, and multiple others. But the thing is, reason why you don't have a side there, reason why you don't have a side there that's trashing on them, because they don't have a little cartoon to compare it to. And I'm not against anime. Like I said, I love the 2006 TV show. The animated series is great. I love it just as much as the live action movie by Kinoko. But that is a thing I noticed in the community. Not to mention that some live action adaptations are either remakes of an animated TV show that never had any prior material, or are an adaptation of a fucking novel, which there's plenty of live action adaptations of novels in the States, like Stephen King's The Shining, A Clockwork Orange, Edge of Tomorrow, fucking Battle Royale, Mothra. It's like, to see the point I have on that thing of live action adaptations bad, because it makes no fucking sense.
Yeah, if you all remember, Joey actually made a video in the form of a roast of two weebs trying to be like, oh, all live action adaptations of manga and anime is bad. And he explained very well, in very good detail, those points are complete crap. And that whole argument is bull crap.
Exactly, because technically it doesn't add up, and it's full of contradictions. That's why often I don't really like to call myself an anime fan, because as far as I'm concerned, they're just movies and TV shows. Like a lot of anime comedy and anime tropes I've seen in other live action Japanese properties. It's not unique to anime. One of the few things that's unique to anime is fucking lollies. And it's like, is that really something to be proud of?
What the fuck is that? What's Wallies?
Lollies.
Lollies. Lollies. That. Oh shit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the only things that's unique to anime, but it's like that. Is that something really worth being proud of, being unique to your favorite art style?
For some reason, I thought it was pronounced lolies.
It might. It probably is with the Japanese accent. But yeah, that's something I have.
If I may, my friend, here's why I'm fine with like labeling the anime subgenres, if you will, under their subgenre names, is because while they may not be unique to anime specifically, I think that the way that they're brought together, particularly, and work off of each other, is unique enough that it warrants giving it its own label. Maybe not take it too seriously. Maybe not take it too seriously, though. But that's just how I feel.
That's fair, but still, a lot of those tropes are also found in live-action Japanese stuff. Like, for example, I'm sure you know who Ginu Tobuchi is. I know you don't like the anime trilogy, but outside of the anime Godzilla trilogy, while I do like it, are stuff that's actually very well received. Like, have you seen any other Ginu Tobuchi thing outside of the Godzilla anime trilogy? Stuff that's actually very well received by him.
There was an anime mecha anime show that he did that I can't remember the name of, but I watched the first season and I ended up liking it. Basically, this princess from a space station over the Earth was coming down to do peace talks, and then they tried to assassinate her.
I've seen it, but I can't remember the name of it. He also done other stuff like Psycho Pass, Fate Zero. In terms of live action shows, he'd done Kamen Rider Gaim, one of my favorite works from him. Madoka Magica, which is good as it is. There's a lot of plot points to take from Kamen Rider Ryuki. But yeah, Ginu Tobuchi, a lot of those style that's put as anime tropes, he took from Kamen Rider Black and multiple other things. So a lot of anime tropes came from a tokusatsu show. A lot of the dark anime tropes.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah.
Thank you. But yeah,
by the way, turns out I have seen the first 2 episodes of Madoka Magica. I think that's how it's pronounced.
Yeah. I think it's Madoka, something like that.
Oh. Anyways, I've seen it. I've seen the first 2 episodes, and I remember liking that.
Yeah, it's really good. I'd also recommend checking out Kamen Rider Gaim. It looks goofy on the surface, but when you realize the context for why they have this fruit aesthetic, it actually has a lot of this very deep biblical lore behind it that not only makes sense, but is actually super intriguing. But J.S. Penna said, I don't know anything about Death Note. I've only seen the Smash video. I have not seen that. He also said, I heard the Netflix adaptation sucked and that William Dafoe was the best. Yeah, I heard the Netflix adaptation sucked and that William Dafoe is the best part of it. No surprise there. Yeah, the Netflix adaptation, if I was to rate it, I remember it being like a 5 out of 10. It was an average movie, but William Dafoe and the effects for Ryuk were incredible, and also I really liked L. I thought he was really good too, but overall, it wasn't very good. But check out the Shusuke Kaneko movies. Those... at the same time, like for those who don't know, a lot of times when a manga is going big on the rise, a live action adaptation, rather it's a TV show or a movie, will be released, and a animated series will be released around the same time. Both the animated series and the movie for Death Note came out in 2006, and both are actually very well received. Like the movie to Death Note even got the actor who played Ryuk in the animated series. I can't remember the actor's name, but he reprised his role. And there's actually quite a bit of differences between both, because both are accurate to the source material, but take liberties when necessary. Like you have the Kineko duology, which later also got the L Change the World movies. I have not seen those yet myself, but I want to. The Kineko duology is in 2 films. 2 films are both 2 hours, but of course they keep faithful enough to be Death Note, but there is also a lot of things to change it, to not only separate it from the animated series, but also to work in its shorter runtime than a TV show, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I dig that. I really do want to see those 2 movies, only because of the fact that, well, the guy who made the Heisei Gamera trilogy at GMK, one of the best Godzilla movies of all time, is the motherfucker who made those movies.
Yeah, and he did very freaking well. I'm actually planning to rewatch the first movie and check out the sequels for the first time quite soon, actually, because I've been wanting to, and there's definitely a lot of potential there. In terms of the animated series, now I will say, in terms of the animated series, a lot of people don't like the ending of the animated series because they changed a bit from the manga, but to be honest, I kind of prefer it. Like, I'm not going to spoil too much here, but, well, I might end up doing it, I don't know, but in the TV show, I mean, in the manga, it's essentially a lot more nihilistic in ending, but I prefer the ending in the TV show because it shows Ryuk actually gained a connection with light, while in the manga, at the end, despite all they've been through, Ryuk just seems to be like, oh yeah, fuck this guy. He served his purpose of entertaining me. Now I'm going elsewhere. But in the TV show, he had remorse and it was like that there was a deal. This was destined to happen once you pretty much signed a contract with the Shinigami, and he was going about all the things they've been through, and it worked because throughout the series, while you could tell Ryuk was there for entertainment, throughout their journey, he has gained a genuine friendship with Light Yagami. So the ending of the animated series, I actually prefer to the original source material, which a lot of people would see that as blasphemous, but I don't see how. I thought it worked.
I don't really know much about the ending of the manga versus the ending of the anime because, well, I don't read manga. I'm sure it's fine. It's just that on a list of things that are very important for me that I want to do, reading manga is just not one of them. And as for the ending to anime, I thought it was perfectly fine. I honestly thought that the way it ended was a little inevitable, the way they set up Light and what kind of person he was. And honestly, if I were writing the anime, that's probably how I would have it end too.
Exactly, because it worked. That was a liberty, in my personal opinion, kind of improved it because, like I said, in the manga, like I'm pretty sure I haven't read the manga in its entirety, but I have read parts of it. And judging from what I've read, the animated series kept very faithful to that on this thing with Ryuk. And so it makes more sense that Ryuk would have more of a remorseful aspect to it, as throughout their dynamic does have a authentic friendship to it. It wasn't just about entertainment. That's not the vibe you get when they talk. Like you can definitely tell Ryuk is wanting to keep himself entertained, but he does it. But I do think he gained more of a liking to Yagami as the thing went on. While the manga, despite all that, it ended where it seemed like he didn't care, and I'm sure and it worked, but I think it worked more in the animated series. The movie, I actually think they like I don't know what goes on in the whole process of making these things at the same time, but in the movie, judging by the first film, I think there is actually a bit of that there because there's a decision Light makes in the first Kaneko movie. I'm not gonna spoil it. I guess this counts as a vague slash light spoiler, but it's pretty
Light
fucking
spoiler.
yeah, but it's such a. I'm gonna keep it so vague. It's not really an issue. Light does something in the movie where Ryuk, he actually feels that he actually shows a more human side to him, and by that I mean he feels bad for Light on a certain situation. And well, like I said, that's the end of the first movie, and that isn't an anime or manga. There it was it worked in that movie's favor, being throughout all the time they spend together, you could tell there is a mutual set of liking to it. And like I said, I'm not going to spoil what it is, and it's unlike the animated series that wasn't the end of it, since that was only the end of the first movie. You had a second film to go left, which I guess that was another aspect I liked about them coming out at the same time, is that aspect kind of happened around the end of the animated TV series, while the movie with a somewhat remorseful aspect, which I'm not sure if it shows its face in the second movie, but in the first one, it happens around the second half. Again, make it where you could watch both back to back without it feeling like I already seen this.
Right on. Oh, I also gotta say, just really quick, Ryuk looks like a punk rock version of Gene Simmons from Kiss. That's all I'm gonna say.
I see
I,
it.
I actually made a meme about it where I had Gene saying, "No, Ryuk, I can't make the family reunion this year."
Yeah, I definitely see it. You could actually post it on the page if you like. I think that would actually get some traction.
I'd have to find it again, but I'd love to do that because that would just be funny.
Yeah. But anyway, I've been talking a lot, so I think you should speak up a bit more since I don't want to talk over you too much since you're also a host here, so.
Oh, thank you, sir. I'd love to talk. Thank you very much. But now, in all seriousness, Death Note, the anime, was recommended to me when I actually made a post on Facebook asking people for recommendations and for anime because I wanted to get more into it. And my sister made a whole list of anime that I should watch. And then I'm just like, okay. And I think one of the first ones I watched was Soul Eater. And then right after that was Death Note. And it kept my interest. I was engaged the whole time. I thought it was absolutely fascinating. Like seeing the story of Light being like righteous guy who takes it upon himself to dispense justice, but then when actual justice comes looking for him, saying, "No, no, no, you can't do that," he's becomes very self-centered and all about self-preservation. And the way he goes about it, his back and forth between him and L, is fascinating. It's like the core of the first part of the show, and by the end, it seems like Light's fight with L just takes its toll on him, and he starts to make mistakes. And yeah, it's a very fascinating character of a self-righteous piece of crap who thinks he's God.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, essentially what he's doing, like killing criminals, that I'm all for, but he gets so up in his arms where killing people, innocent people that are just doing their jobs to take him down, doesn't even bother him. He just sees what he's doing as justice.
Yeah, frankly, if it was me with the Death Note, I would have stopped the minute I saw that people were like, "We want to bring this guy in," and I'm just like, "Never mind. What Death Note? What?
Yeah, pretty
What
much.
God?"
Yeah, pretty much. Once they would start doing that, I'd throw that the fuck out. Like, I'd be like, I took out a few trash. Now it's time to just get rid of it. I don't want to lose my life. But he just
Mm-hmm.
kept going on and killing innocents along the way.
It's a very fascinating uh, exploration of what power and the lust for it do to someone who otherwise would come across as just an average normal guy on the street until you meet him and realize he was actually pretty much a genius.
Yeah, most definitely. Like, it honestly kind of serves as a nice little commentary in real life too, because that could also go for other things such as politicians and such. Like, we all have opinions, but once we're given the power to bring those opinions, like if we're a dictator, like when you go into countries like North Korea, notice how every dictator is a fucking piece of shit because they were given power to do whatever they want, and they grow insensitive to doing bad things with it.
Absolutely. I agree 100% with you, Joey, my dude.
Thank you.
Now, I haven't seen any of the Japanese live action Death Note movies, but I want to watch at least the first two because, again, they were made by the guy who made the Gamera trilogy and GMK. And that just sounds like a recipe for awesomeness to me. I
It
will
is.
say though, I did watch a clip from one of the movies on YouTube that featured the voice cast from the dub of the English dub of the anime, also doing dubbing for the live action scene. So I'm just like, oh, that's cool. And I gotta say, even though I like the dub for the anime, I would probably want to watch the movie subbed because for some reason it just didn't come off as natural in the live action movies as it did in the anime to me.
Well, while I don't like dub in general, even in anime, I feel like it works even less in live action because you're getting words from other people coming out of real people's mouths rather than just, again, taking characters that are already voiced over and revoicing them. Again, I don't like it in animation either because, like I said, the acting's often bad and they're often made to talk very fast to go with the mouths and such. But I can understand it somewhat in animation, while in live action, I don't really understand it because those are other people's words coming out of someone else's mouth, and that never sits right with me, to be honest.
If I may, just for me personally, I just grew up watching English dubs, and I think that English dubs for movies can be a way for possibly younger children to get into
I
them.
agree.
Not that I want them to get into Death Note, obviously, because well, not kid friendly. But
Yeah.
I just got used to it, and the fact that there are some Godzilla movies where they have English where I'm like, if this character actually was speaking English, this is the voice I think it would have. That's just me personally, though. 'Cause I'm an
I get
uncultured
that.
swine. So,
I completely get that. I get that completely. But yeah, I can definitely see your point on getting a wider audience in because yeah, while I don't like dub, I'm not it does have a purpose to exist and that does bring in more people, so I completely understand that. But yeah.
and I also want to point out that I'm the exception, not the rule. Just because I got used to English dub, keeping it that usually prefer keeping it that way, doesn't mean those kids won't grow up and want to watch like the original subtitled versions of these movies and shows.
Yeah, I watched dub as a kid, but as I gotten older, I became more of a subtitle guy. Though I can get some nostalgia by rewatching some dubs of Godzilla movies occasionally, but generally when I rewatch those Godzilla movies, I go with the original language because original audio, actual actors' words, and better acting. But I can get nostalgia if one was to turn on the dub once in a great while.
So, overall, here's how I know with Joey and someone asking him to watch English dub. It would be like the English dub of the opening scene for Godzilla versus Gigan, where the guy's like, let's just watch this English dub together. How's that? Joey'd be like, I think it stinks.
But when it comes, when it comes to a dub, I do have some memorable things like certain words, and the one you mentioned, for example, Godzilla versus Gigan.
The English voice for the corn guy fit him so well. It's
It did,
fucking crazy.
yes. It
But
did, yes.
now,
Okay.
I did watch 2017 live action Netflix movie directed by Adard. And
Adam Wingard.
did I not say?
You faded out, so I corrected that for you.
Thank you very much. Uh-huh. But now, I'll admit, when it came out, I was interested. I thought by the trailers, it looked pretty cool. And when I heard Willem Dafoe was going to be playing Ryuk, I'm just like, I need this in my life. So,
Yeah,
when it... Go ahead.
finish.
I was going to say, when I first watched it, I actually thought it was pretty cool. But I instantly knew right away that people weren't going to like it because there been so many changes. Because originally the movie was in development, it wasn't going to be an adaptation, more as a sequel to the original story told in the manga / anime, where
That would have been awesome.
someone new was going to find the Death Note in the States instead, and basically in Seattle, Washington, around my neck of the wood. Which I think that if they had went with that original idea instead of trying to force an adaptation and doing what they did, I think people would have been a little bit more open to it. Not necessarily would have been a good move. Still would have been a good movie because over time I decided as I watched it again, I'm like, okay, yeah, this isn't very good. But they should have just gone ahead and made it a sequel to the original story. Don't name this one kid Light because, well, it's not Light. Don't try and force in there. Put another character in, and don't try to make his girlfriend a composite character like what they did, because applying those names to these characters in this movie just didn't work. Even though one who played L was doing fairly good, just the way he was written came off as L Light to me personally.
I get that. Me, I actually liked it. The actor played L because I thought that it's been years since I watched it. Like, I watched it like 2017, 2018, and like 20. When did the movie come out again? I watched it when it was new.
2017. That's it.
2017?
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched it when it was new, and at that time, I turned it on as like it seemed promising. First, let's rewind back before I get ahead of myself. I saw the trailers, and me and my brothers thought it looked fucking awesome, and it did. It looked like a really good movie. It had a nice dark atmospheric tone. You had the clips placed on the right place to show off Ryuk, played by William Dafoe, and all this stuff to really build hype for the movie that I was looking forward to. But then it came out, I started seeing reviews, and I was like, I'm losing hype for this. But I was like, you know what, maybe I'll like it. I think Chris Stuckman was okay with it, but he was the only one that thought it was like okay, while everyone else thought it was complete bad. I was like, I hope I'm in the minority here. But then I went and watched it on Netflix. It started off interesting while Light went around screaming like a fucking bitch when when Ryuk showed up. I was like, yep, this still has potential. But then over time, it just got less and less interesting. Like, I still loved Ryuk. Like, I like how they kept him in the shadows because it worked with the darker tone of the movie. And William Dafoe's performance was also really good as he took it very seriously while also being somewhat fun, like Ryuk is. And I think
Absolutely.
they even kind of modeled his design off William Dafoe, which was a smart choice.
Yeah, I gotta say, in all honesty, in that clip I saw, when I saw from the Japanese live action movies, when I saw Ryuk, I was like, this still looks cool. I'm glad that they stayed true to his design, but it doesn't fully fit here. If I was being honest, I don't know what it was. Maybe because limited budget for CGI, maybe it just didn't translate well from animation to live action. But I guess, honest opinion, in adapting the overall look of Ryuk to live action, 2017 movie did it better at me.
I think when it comes to the older movies, I think the issue there, like, while going completely faithful to design now is smart, but at the same time, this was a 2006 Japanese movie, so, the Ryuk design aged a lot more. Like, you gotta remember, when it comes to CGI, this was a time where CGI really only looked great for bigger budget movies like Peter Jackson's King Kong, Revenge of the Sith, and World of the Worlds. And you could say that they could have used a practical effect, but Ryuk's proportions are so slim and otherworldly, CGI was necessary. But yeah, the movie went for a more very accurate design on Ryuk, and I thought it worked for what it was. Very dated, but like I said, they did what they could for the time and budget. But it was nice to see the new Ryuk in more modern CGI. And while being accurate to the original design, they kind of combined it with William Dafoe to give it more of a sense of realism, while I do get on the other movie, having that more anime look makes him feel a bit more otherworldly. So I respect both viewpoints, because having that more anime-esque look in the 2006 movie makes him more otherworldly, while the new Ryuk has that balance of otherworldly and human. Both work for their own reasons outside of the very updated CGI due to time and budget of coming out. Now, if you watch stuff like L Change the World, recent movie, I think another movie came out recently. The CGI for Ryuk, I'd recommend looking that up. It's really interesting to see how far they've come with budget. I'd say it looks just as good as the 2017 one when you see the capabilities of CGI Japan has now compared to back then.
Right on. Maybe I will do that. I will also say though, I would have liked to see what they would have tried to do with practical effects Ryuk. Would they have tried to do a guy in a suit? Would they have tried to make it a puppet? Maybe a little column A, little column B. Have some people in green screen suits so they can be edited out later, operating the arms and legs while there's people off to the side remote controlling his facial features. It could have been interesting to see.
It could have. I'm just saying I understand why they went that route, even if for the time
I do
CG
too.
wasn't exactly perfected. But it
Right
would
on.
be interesting to see. It would be interesting to see, most definitely. But yeah, but Ryuk was definitely one of the best aspects of the 2017 movie. I liked L as well.
Yeah.
It's hard to really go into why I liked L in the movie because it's been years since I've seen it. But if I remember correctly, the actor, I can't remember his name, he gave a very similar stoic / weird performance to what I would think of when I see the character, while also coming off as highly intelligent. So that was something I liked.
Until the very end where he totally became a different character who acted like L would not act, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's been years since I've seen the movie, but I definitely had a lot of problems with it. Like I said, outside of a few things, the movie was 5 out of 10. Winger definitely did a lot better when he did Godzilla vs. Kong, but that had a lot of problems too that I've already stated multiple fucking times.
That's true. And I want to say this for the movie in its defense. What you touched on it earlier, but I want to say straight up, the way it's actually shot, the lighting, the visuals, the angles, all the mood and atmosphere, it's shot incredibly well, at least in my opinion. I think that in terms of overall cinematography, it's a master class. It just didn't have strong enough writing and a few performances to help prop it up more.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think if there was a bit more touching up, it could have been great, but unfortunately it came out mediocre. But you know what? Maybe this show will be better. Anyway,
I like to think I would. I like to think it'll be better.
Yeah. Anyway, should we move on to the possibilities that the upcoming show's gonna have?
I was actually hoping we would because, well, this was the catalyst for the subject of the podcast. So let's get going. Oh, but full disclosure, I haven't seen the live action show from Japan. Don't know if I will or not.
Wait.
I plan to see the live action Japanese show eventually because I heard it's good, but generally what people bring up when it comes to Death Note adaptations, it's the 2006 movie and its sequels by Shusuke Kinoko and the 2006 animated series, which both, like I said, are very good adaptations, but I have not seen the TV show, but I do plan to see the live action show eventually, but I think it's on Crunchyroll, I think.
Pharaoh's in the house. Check him out.
Apologies, I have been sick.
Oh no!
Hope you get better.
Yeah,
Anyways,
we're managing together, but I've been listening in the background of things.
Okay. But anyway, since you're here, before we move on to the possibilities of the upcoming adaptation, would you like to go into the exposure you've had to Death Note and your thoughts on the overall franchise?
So I've seen the anime a few times. I've read the manga. I have seen several of the live action variants, but I don't exactly remember them very well. Because every time I wanted to just rewatch the series, I would just watch the anime again. So overall, like when I did watch live action, certain things did stand out to me. Like obviously you can't do the whole thing because it's not a long series, but keep in the important parts. The Netflix one was okay. I feel like I forgot about it after a week, but I still get kind of creeped out seeing a live action version of Ryuk or any of the Shinigami. Honestly, those things are creepy in real life. I don't want to see that in real life.
They're creepy in the anime too.
I'm able to deal with them in the anime because then everything has a style going into it. Going
True.
from humans to that is like that is a very hard juxtaposition of like what I'm looking at right now, and
If
I
I
don't
may,
like
Pharaoh,
that.
if I may, Pharaoh, in my opinion, I actually think it's a good thing that they look creepy in live action because, well, they're demonic entities. They should have that creep factor to them if you're looking at
I agree.
I also agree wholeheartedly. They do a phenomenal job of like these things are otherworldly and unsettling to look at. I hate it, but for the story, I love it.
Yeah.
They're big walking contradictions.
Yeah, it's this. I appreciate what it did and the amount of effort it did to tell the story, and I love it. But I don't ever want to see that in my life because that is terrifying.
I don't
Which
think
means it did
anybody
a
was.
phenomenal job of what it needed to do.
Like, as much as I mocked Light in the Netflix movie for screaming like a little bitch, I'm sure a lot of us would too if we saw that fucker.
I would.
Oh, yeah. That's why. It's one of those things where it's like, I don't like this, but I appreciate how much I don't like this because that's exactly what you need to be going for.
Yeah,
that's actually a good way of explaining it.
Yeah, exactly. It brings in a horror-esque thing to the overall theme. It's like when a drama movie is sad, if you feel like shit, but that's what you're supposed to. You're supposed to feel emotions for that thing.
Yeah.
So
I guess another way of comparing it is when an actor does a really good job playing a bad guy, and it's like, wow, I hate this guy. That means that actor did a really good job playing a bad guy.
Exactly. Like,
I can attest.
Like, I forgot the actor's name, but the dude from Godzilla Final Wars, he played the lead Exilian. That's what he's known as. In Final Wars, the character was written to be over-the-top, fun badassery. That was how he was written, and so the actor had fun and made the role a very fun and badass villain. But I also seen him in another movie called Killers. I don't remember Killers being anything great, but in the movie, he played a fucking piece of shit, and I hated him a lot. Whenever he was on, I got fucking enraged, and I was looking forward to seeing him die. But that was the point. It shows he's a good actor, because he could go from over-the-top fun villain to a piece of shit you want to see get murdered.
Yep. That is the science. Like, the person, like, that actor or the people who had the job of animate this to look creepy, they did their job.
Most definitely. Like, even the Japanese movies from 2006, the CGI might be dated, but from what they had for the time with that otherworldly design, it was quite impressive.
So, in other words, all of this is an art form. It takes a lot of time, a lot of patience, and a lot of hard work to make come to life. So, even if something's not necessarily the best, you should at least the people making it a little bit of slack. Just a little bit. Stop being so cynical, people.
Yeah, it's all about what they had. Like, that one dude with the crazy hair in GMK, as he said about the vehicles in King Kong vs. Godzilla, they're super dated, but the thing is, it's not about looking real. It's about what they were able to do with their talent.
Absolutely.
And that's how you judge older media. It's the talent, not if it looks real for today's standards. Like, animation doesn't look real. Cartoons never look fucking real. But we're still able to enjoy good-looking animation because talent. The talent and art that went into it. That's the point. It's not about looking real. Now, today's standards of practical effects and CGI, yeah, it should look real. Like, even Japanese CGI till this day can look very real. But back then, you gotta look at what they had and appreciate it based on that. Like, even looking at an older video game, I could simply judge the gay graphics in that and still be impressed by what they had. Like Republic Commando, Ultraman Fighting Evolution, all that stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm happy with kind of how it went. Some of the live action versions themselves just kind of never stuck out to me because I'll always have the anime as kind of my first experience going through it. But when I want to rewatch it, I would just kind of rewatch the anime itself just because it's just more familiar to me and I find it more personal. But overall, I really like what Death Note does. It has a fun idea to it, and I have definitely thought of having one of those things multiple times.
Yeah.
Right on.
Like,
I will also say...
itself? You mean you said you said about having one of those things multiple times? You mean the note itself? Because
Yeah.
I sure the fuck have.
Oh yeah, like
Same.
every so often, just like, what would I do if I had this thing? I'd probably
Yeah,
go to
exactly.
this person. Like
Like
my
when you
biggest debate would always be like, would I go for the Shinigami eyes? Like, I'm okay, kind of dying early, but do I really want to? Like,
yeah, it's something that you don't know until until the decision is put in your hands.
yeah.
But in terms of live action versus anime, for me, I go for both because, like someone said about the Attack on Titan movies, it's a different experience from the animated series. Like, I'm able to enjoy the animated series, but I also got the Shusuke Kaneko movies that I could go and watch for similarities, but also differences.
Mm-hmm.
Same goes for King Kong. Like, now I do think Jackson's King Kong is an improvement to the 33 film in many ways, but the 33 film is still really
Blasphemy.
good. Yeah, the 33 film is still really fucking good. In fact, it's a masterpiece. And there's differences to both that really make Jackson's and the 33 film both worth checking out on their own, I think.
Yes,
Right
they're
on.
both excellent iterations of a single idea.
Yeah. But anyway, should we move on to the upcoming series and the possibilities that brings?
Sure.
Really quick before we do, I just want to say one last thing. And since Pharaoh said his piece on the live action stuff versus the anime for Death Note, overall, I would personally say that I would prefer to watch the. I think I would prefer to watch the Death Note anime over all the live action. I can't say for certain because I've only seen one piece of live action media from it, and that's the 2017 movie, which is just sort of eh. But I feel like the anime has told a full enough and complete story, and that could be considered the definitive version for normies who may not necessarily read manga or want to check out any other extended media. So that's just how I feel about it.
Understandable. That is very understandable. But since this was your idea, Cody, feel free to start the convo on the upcoming show.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we don't know much about it yet. All that I know for certain is that Netflix is basically giving the Duffer Brothers the keys to the kingdom because A, Stranger Things has made them a lot of money. B, as a result, the Duffer Brothers also got a lot of money, enough to open their own studio, that being Upside Down Studios, which is named after an element from the Stranger Things.
Oh,
and
upside down. That's funny.
yeah, and also, I think it was actually the Duffer Brothers themselves that went to Netflix and said, we want to make a live action adaptation of Death Note. We want to make it a show instead of a movie. And I think Netflix is okay with that and may have even scrapped the sequel to Wingard's movie in favor of this project. Now, my first question to you guys is, what do you know about the Duffer Brothers' previous works?
I've only seen Stranger Things, I think, the first 2 seasons, and yeah, I really liked it. You have a nice little interesting story to it. It's fun characters that feel like actual children, but aren't the annoying type. And it has that nice job of bringing back 80s nostalgia without beating you in the head with it, but it still managed to actually popularize that in the horror genre. The effects were actually really good too, by memory. But it's been years since I've watched it. But yeah, from what I've seen of Stranger Things, I think there is a lot of possibility here, especially since, if I remember correctly, the monsters in Stranger Things look very otherworldly. So,
You want to talk about your experience with the Duffer Brothers now, Pharaoh?
Well, I don't know other things they did, but I've seen Stranger Things, all of it, and I really like them. Like, I like the story that goes into it. I like the characters they're going on with it. Yeah, the effects work really well. The monsters work really well. Let me see. What else have they done? Duffer Brothers.
Well, let me pull up their Wikipedia page really quickly,
Yeah, I'm trying to
because
see if anything like stands out.
before Stranger Things, they were actually writers and co-executive producers for an M. Night Shyamalan TV miniseries called Wayward Pines. And the same year, And that same year, they also released their first feature film, which was an independent horror movie called Hidden.
Yeah, haven't heard or seen any of those. And I'm looking at all their accolades. It basically just boils down to Stranger Things. Like Stranger Things got them their big name now.
I would say that Hidden and Wayward Pines also got their foot in the door, but Stranger Things is the foot that kicked the door open for them.
Oh yeah.
Now,
like that's what's getting them like a lot more recognition now.
It certainly got my attention. Well, the fact that a lot of internet celebrities I followed and a lot of my friends were saying, "Go watch Stranger Things." It's all this great stuff put together, like John Carpenter movies, Stephen King books, Steven Spielberg stuff, 80s horror nostalgia, even hints of anime. So I'm just like, I gotta watch this. So I put it on, and it's basically my favorite TV show of all time. My number one favorite show. I absolutely love and adore Stranger Things. I've loved it like from beginning to end, beginning to current times, just as much. I even loved season 3, even though people didn't like season a whole lot. They're entitled to the wrong opinions. Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, because of that, it personally puts a lot of faith in the Duffer Brothers for me personally. I think that because of what I know of their work and how good it is, that if they wanted to, they actually went to Netflix and said, let's do a live action Death Note series. That tells me that they are either fans or at least interested in doing the material. So that paints a good picture in my mind. Still, at the same time, I can't help but be a bit worried because even though I don't subscribe to the idea that live-action adaptations of manga and anime is bad, there have been times in the past where we've gotten examples where the live-action adaptations have left a lot to be desired, personally.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm kind of open to it just because I like Death Note. I'll watch it anyway. I was actually more surprised to see that they're going to do a live action Yu Hakusho show. And I'm like, I want to see that. Like, that is something I like Death Note. I'm super excited hearing the news about a live action Yu Hakusho. I kind of like that show a little bit more that I've gone back and rewatched those fights in that series more.
Sorry for the difficulties. Internet got fucked.
Aww.
Anyway.
Sometimes that happens. Although I will say, Farrell, I haven't seen that other show you were talking about, but
Yu Hakusho, it starts off really strong, and then it kind of peters out as it goes on.
Oh no!
Unfortunately, but like I said, it starts off really strong. Most tournament arcs in anime, like Dragon Ball, has a good way of doing it. Yu Yu Hakusho has the perfect way of doing a tournament arc with a group.
Oh, that's cool.
I haven't seen Yu Yu Hakusho myself, but I heard really good things about it. Friends of mine actually told me it's a must-watch, and I will eventually, but I think it's lengthy, so it's intimidating when I would like to start that.
Yeah, that's fair.
I will also say Netflix doesn't necessarily have the best track record in doing live-action adaptations, from what I understand.
It depends, like American live-action adaptations. There's also a lot of stuff that's very well received, like Alice in Borderland, for example.
Right now, that was fun.
Oh, you seen Alice in Borderland?
Yeah, that's right up my alley of trying to figure out puzzles in a terrifying environment.
Yeah, Alice in Borderland was great. Like, it show's great where it's just... Finish, Pharaoh?
I love, like, I like shows that have little mental games, and while you're watching it, you kind of figure it out as it goes along. That's one of the reasons why I like Death Note so much, was because it was a cat and mouse game where I'm like, I see what's going on here, and I'm piecing together how they're going to one-up each other, or essentially like match each other. And I love that type of engagement. Alice in Borderland just take that to a almost physical level of games. I'm like, this is creepy, but I see what they're trying to do, and I see their strategy.
Yeah, I'm not going to spoil anything that happens in Alice in Borderland, but you know a show's great, where just in the first few early episodes of the show, you actually care enough about the characters when all this starts to get to their head, you feel very bad for them.
Mm-hmm.
So
Another-
here's,
Mhm.
sorry, I was gonna try
finish,
to
Cody.
boil. I was just gonna try and boil down where I'm at right now. I'm open to the idea, but I'm just afraid that diehard anime fans may not be because, well, again, the 2017 Death Note movie is just kind of meh, and we're just coming off the heels of the anime fan community bullying Netflix into canceling their live-action Cowboy Bebop show because they hate it so much.
I forgot about that one.
I haven't seen that one myself, but the thing about a
I
lot of
haven't
anime,
either.
the thing about a lot of
I've seen it,
anime
but
fans, like I don't want to come off as an anime hater because I'm not. Like I looked into suggestions of my video on those two fucking weebs on why anime shouldn't be segregated from live action since it's really just Japanese media as a whole, not really much different outside of visually. I looked into the suggestions, and one of the videos that suggests is my video is why anime is trash. It's like, that's not the point of the video I was making. The point of the video I was making is anime shouldn't be put on a fucking pedestal. That's the point I'm making.
Nothing's good, almost. Depends on certain things, but
Yeah, because the thing is, it shouldn't be put on a pedestal. It's all really movies and TV shows. Like a lot of the goofy comedy and anime, you can see in other Japanese media. Like currently watching Kamen Rider Double, and a lot of the humor in that is very similar to stuff you'd see in anime because it's a TV show. It's a Japanese TV show. It's targeting a similar audience. But the thing is, a lot of anime fans try to put as something special, like, oh, this can't be touched, or this can. Like, I've seen people like Attack on Titan can't be done in live action, which, first of all, I'm not going to get into the quality of those movies, but I'll just say, those are good movies. But the thing is about those movies, Attack on Titan as a whole was inspired by Tokusatsu, like Godzilla vs. Biollante, the Gamera trilogy, and most of all, War of the fucking Gargantuas. They done that concept in live action before it was ever written on a novel, and Hajime Isayama has pointed out multiple times Gargantuas was one of his inspirations. So if people want to be like, oh, giant humanoid beast can't be put on the big screen with people, how about take it to Hajime Isayama? That's all I'll say.
yeah, fair enough. Like, there's a way of doing it. It's just, are people open to it is a whole other thing.
Yeah,
And
that's what bothers
that's the thing where a lot of people just aren't open to new iterations of something. Where it's like, no, the first version is the pure best form, and any other version is just going to be worse. Like,
yeah, that's the issue because, like I said, a lot of people put the live action series to another, I think, as a live action adaptation, which it is. But the thing is, it's not. From what I heard, it's a bad show. But the thing is, it's an adaptation of a novel, just like the anime was. And if you want to say that live action adaptations of novels are bad, how about you take it to a lot of people who make popular stuff like Jurassic fucking Park, for example?
Oh, that's a whole side other thing. Where the books have deviated so far from, like, the books and the movies kind of deviate just from themselves so much, where it's like, if any of you actually read the book, half of the stuff doesn't happen, and most of these characters are way worse.
I heard in the book, the book's actually very violent of Jurassic Park. I heard if they were it was actually very faithful, it would have been like rated R, which I wouldn't oppose that. Jurassic Park is already action horror, so I wouldn't oppose being rated R and adaptation.
Oh yeah, like, as someone who's read those books, the characters are all way worse people going into it, where you kind of, like, you feel for them dying, but at the same time, like, oh, good, you're a terrible person. You deserve to die. One of the kids doesn't actually do anything, like absolutely nothing. So it's like, all right, that's just kind of there. And also, the island explodes.
Yeah,
Huh.
I'm not against hateable characters though, if they are meant to be hated though. Like if they're meant to be hated, they may piss you off throughout, but once they die, it all becomes worth it. That's how I see it.
Yeah,
like,
what was it? Dr. Hammond, the guy who made Jurassic Park. In the movie, they made him like a nice, sweet old grandpa. In the book, he is a terrible grandfather. He does not care about his grandchildren. He wants this park to open, and he dies by getting eaten by the compies.
Interesting. Well, a lot of adaptations tend to change stuff even here. Like Pinocchio, I heard is a fucking dickhead in the in the
Oh
novel.
yeah. Dude, if you look back at any original book, like literary source for these stories, a lot changes. But because people are introduced to it as a movie, they think that's the first. When it's like, no, their first version, everyone kind of sucks. Like Disney is kind of the star at doing that. All
They
of those old Disney
sugarcoat dark
movies,
stories.
yes, they are nightmare, not super nightmare, but they are monstrous fairy tales. Like Little Mermaid supposed to die at the end of the book by turning into sea foam, not loved by her husband. Simba is just Kimba the White Lion. That's a whole separate thing. Beauty and the Beast. There's supposed to be a lot more back and forth going into that. Where I will say the live action explored more of what the book did.
Oh, so the live action movie was actually more faithful to the book?
They did more of it because Belle actually goes back and forth from her home every so often, and her being away is what's killing the beast.
That's interesting. So it kind of did like an Erase thing. Like, I'm not sure if you guys read the Erase manga or watched any of the adaptations, but essentially,
I've seen the show.
huh? You seen which show? The animated show or the live action one?
The anime.
Both are really
I might
good.
have seen live action. I don't remember.
Both are really good, but honestly, if I was to say which one I liked more, I'd say I liked the live action show a tiny bit more. But let me go into detail just so it doesn't seem anything wrong. Essentially, the animated series overall is very accurate, but they also took some liberties that changed some stuff. But since they are also trying to be very accurate in the animated series, while still combining liberties in it, it kind of led to some stuff like the ending being a bit rushed. While in the live action show, I heard it was overall very, very accurate to the source material, and they didn't try to cram in any differences. So I had more time to not only with longer runtime episodes, it had more time to flesh out the main plot points more, since there was more focus on them. And overall, a lot of the stuff that was in like the final 2 to 3 episodes of the live action show was in like the final episode to the animated series. So it overall felt a bit more developed. Still, overall, the animated series is great, and I'd recommend watching both, since both have their unique aspects. But I think since the animated series tried to overall still be very accurate while throwing new stuff in there, it led to some stuff being rushed around the end. While the live action show, since it was trying to pay more homage to the manga, it had a more fleshed out conclusion.
Oh, that reminds me.
If I may interject,
Cody, go for it.
I wanted to say, I'm not personally, I don't personally object to the idea of something getting adapted multiple times, like for example, the Jurassic Park movie versus the book. Later on in the future, if someone wanted to do a second adaptation that was a bit more faithful to the book, I'd be up for it, because it's like you said, Pharaoh, a lot got left out of the first movie that I thought was be pretty fascinating to see in cinema, on film, in live action. Like, for example, the rafting scene with the T-Rex. I would have been fine with that.
Yeah, they moved that to like Jurassic Park 3.
And put in the freaking Spinosaurus.
Which I do like the Spinosaurus, but yeah.
Yes. I like the Spinosaurus myself, but yeah, I definitely could see what you mean there.
I would be fine with more adaptations if they weren't made in spite or contempt of the source material, or were just flat out dismissive of it. Like, say, what happened with the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, where Jackie Earle Haley flat out disliked the first movie and went out of his way to try to keep himself away from his portrayal of Freddy Krueger, away from Robert Englund's original, because he disliked the movie so much. And how the actress who played Nancy in the remake was actually very contemptuous of her time making the movie, and even said that she considered quitting acting as a result.
Sounds like the Halo show.
Say that again?
Sounds like the Halo show. Like, the people who are making Halo, they didn't play the games. They made sure not to talk about the games or anything about, like, they didn't do any research, but they decided to make a Halo show, and it
Yeah.
pissed everybody off.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like, I'll give him this.
it's when someone does an adaptation out of contempt or spite or is dismissive of the original source material. That's when I'm just like, nah, I check out, because that's one of the reasons why I don't like the '98 Godzilla movie. I feel like Roland Emmerich is a bit dismissive of it, whereas Dean Devlin, even though he's a Godzilla fan, he sees it as more goofy, cheesy stuff from the past that shouldn't be taken seriously, or at least that's how it came across with the '98 movie.
That's fair. I've struggled with that movie many times, but I think I've just got old enough to realize, you know what? I accept you for what you are. You will never be one of my favorite Godzilla movies, but you will never be my most hated Godzilla movie either. You
That'll
will
always
just
be
be
revenge.
like, huh? Yeah,
That'll always be revenge. Fuck that movie.
yep, that is exclusively reserved for revenge. But I'm like, you know what, 98, I'm just gonna put you just in the, like, you just do your thing. You're not hurting anybody. You're not hurting me with your existence. You just exist comfortably wherever you are.
Yeah.
That's very fair. Now, having said all that, I'm a bit hopeful with this Death Note series adaptation because, one, the Duffer Brothers have already proven they can make good stuff. Two, they're the ones that asked to do it, so they have to have some sort of interest, and I hope that it's not a we can do it better thing. It's just sort of we want to do our own spin on it and share it with more people, because let's face it, even though there are hardcore anime fans, there are also people out there who don't watch anime or animation as a whole.
Yeah, and they'll probably still go in and watch Death Note and might able to appreciate it for what it is. And there are live action adaptations that actually are more known than the source material. Old Boy and Ichi the Killer, for example. Like, a lot of people don't even know those are based on manga.
Right.
Because those are so well received. And I will say, Old Boy, that film outblows most anime based on manga out of the water. It is high art, and it's considered a very high piece of cinema for a good reason, because it is. So, yeah. And I'm talking about the Korean movie Old Boy, not the American remake of it.
Right on. The only thing I could see really going wrong, because, well, I know for a fact that the Duffer Brothers are anime fans, because they even said that Elfin Lied has partially inspired them when making Stranger Things, which I like to point out again. I like to point out again to everyone listening, Stranger Things, my favorite TV show of all time. I love it. And you should watch it if you haven't already.
Agreed.
But one thing I'm worried about is the fact that the Duffer Brothers might be stretching themselves out too thin, because at the same time as this announcement, they still have yet to make the final episode, the final season of Stranger Things, and they already said that they're working with Steven Spielberg to make an adaptation of a Stephen King book, The Talisman, and make it its own Netflix live action series. And they're also working on.
That's a whole sidetrack of adaptations gone screwy. Stephen King books can be terrifying to read, but they're on the mark, but sometimes they just don't hit when it comes to a movie.
Right.
Well, a lot of the time, the movie adaptations of his work fucking sucks. Like, I don't think it's the concept that can't be translated. It's that the people that are translating it didn't do it right. That's just me, though.
Yeah, but remember, he did one himself, and that's how we got the Green Goblin with living monster trucks. It was living trucks and sentient cars. He's really said, "This is me done right." I'm like, "This is you done right? This seems even goofier than the others."
Yeah.
In his defense, he was doing a lot of coke when he made that movie.
I mean,
hell,
that makes a lot of sense.
He was a whole bunch of drugs throughout the 80s. So many drugs that, even though it was bad for him, it made him able to write these multiple 1,000-word novels and release them all within just 3 months of each other.
And most of them are pretty good, I'll be honest.
So, yeah, I don't think Stephen...
Oh, go ahead.
I think the Stephen King movies can't be adapted to live action either, like Joey said. It's just a matter of getting the right people to do it, like, say, Stanley Kubrick or maybe John Carpenter, who have both made... who have both made good live action adaptations in Christine and The Shining.
Mm-hmm. That is true. That would be fair. Maybe you just haven't gotten the right directors getting into things. Which I always like that post online, which would probably be a whole other topic of what is a bad movie? What is a movie that did poorly but deserves a remake to get another chance?
True,
Like
but I would also say that even the live action Stephen King adaptations that are technically bad still have some entertainment value to them. Like Tim Curry Tim Curry as Pennywise in the It miniseries. And I'm sorry.
That was a long series, but Tim Curry always nails the roles. What he does, that's the sign of a good actor.
Fuck yeah!
Yes, most definitely.
I'm sorry. I kept cutting you guys off to try to get my point across. I feel really bad.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, plus I don't realize that. I think I've mainly been agreeing with you by just going yeah and stuff like that. So you haven't been really cutting me off.
Yeah, you're saying what we agree to, so it kind of works out.
Yeah.
Fair, but still, I don't want to treat you guys like that. Y'all my friends.
Oh, it's okay, buddy.
Thank you. Oh, like I said, in terms of the Talisman and the Death Note live action adaptation and the last season of Stranger Things, they're also thinking about doing Stranger Things spin-off shows, which I'd be interested in. But again, with all getting all this on their plate, so I'm afraid that they might end up stretching themselves in, and the products that they're making could be affected negatively as a result.
True, but at that point, we just gotta have faith that they'll figure it out somewhere. Because are they just writing the stories or are they directing it? Are they doing everything?
They haven't said exactly. Based on what I've seen them do so far of the work, they're probably going to have their hands in the writing and the developing and the directing and the producing, all that stuff, because they had dipped their hand in so much for Stranger Things.
Yeah, true. All right, maybe that'll be a good chance to realize, all right, we can't do as much, but maybe it's because now they realize, okay, we can make these things and people are aware of it. Let's try making a bunch more things. So it's like, oh, we'd like to try and do this, or let's try and do this, or let's try and do this. And I think that might be where all right, we can only do so much together. We might have to let other people do things also.
True. Because there have been we've seen cases where there have been people that are basically given keys to the kingdom, and they crashed and burned just as fast as they rose as a result by taking on too much stuff at once.
Yeah, but that's unfortunately the media cycle. If you always have to be doing more, that's kind of just part of a culture of we have to keep doing more to stay relevant. Otherwise, you're just kind of forgotten about. And no, never mind.
Sad but true in terms of Metallica. In the words of Metallica. I can't words today. Ow. My brain hurts.
My body's not buying anymore, so.
Be right back. Also, do you guys have anything more to say on the Death Note movie? I mean, upcoming Death Note series? Because I don't think I have anything else.
I don't know what's going on, but I'm probably going to watch it anyway.
Me too.
I personally think that it has a lot of potential to be good. It also has a lot of potential to get a lot of attention, both from Duffer Brother fans / Stranger Things fans, and maybe even from the Death Note fans, because even those who may not like it, like the thought of this show, might hate watch it anyways, because apparently that's a thing where you hate something but you watch it anyways just so you can hate it. Like, oh my fucking god! And it's like, why you hate watching, bro?
That is basically F-Boy Island. I hate that show so much.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I guess.
Like, I hate it so much when my friends get together every week to watch, and I'm like, I hate doing this. It's like, I'm not happy watching this show. I don't feel good watching this show. It makes me die a little inside watching F-Boy Island and realizing this is entertainment, and this is a lot of realistic things that I've heard in real life. Like, that's not just a show. I've seen people say those exact words and fall for those actions. And it's like, this isn't just a show. Like, this is very real. And I hate this. But I keep
Ugh.
joining my friends every week. It's like, I guess I'm watching this and just dying slowly more inside.
Okay. I could bring myself to do that unless I was to review it.
Just don't.
I can't do that. I can't go out of my way to watch things I know I'm gonna hate. I'm content here in my land of things I love. Thank you very much.
Yeah, like y'all are doing. Like you guys stay there. Don't get into the show. Oh, like don't at all with this.
Having said
Like
that, I
talking
do
about
hope
makes
that
me angry.
having said all that, I hope that at least some of those people that go into the Death Note show, live action show, end up being able to appreciate it, come around and appreciate it for its own merits, especially if the show is legitimately good, which I think it has the potential to be because, well, Duffer Brothers, Stranger Things, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, I'm gonna watch it and hopefully it does well. Could be terrible, but could be good. No idea, but I'm just gonna go into it and be like, well, here goes this.
Can go
We
either
won't-
way.
We won't know for sure until the show itself comes out, although we might have hints of it in trailers and advertisements we might see, because sometimes, not always, those can be indicative of the quality of the product that they're advertising. Not always. Sometimes they can lighten them up, can fluff up to make it look better, or actually make it look worse than it actually is, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, fair enough. It gets you interested.
Pretty much. But that being
definitely,
said,
definitely wait for the final product.
Yeah.
That being said, unless you guys have anything more to say, that's it for this episode. Huh?
I'm good.
That's it for this episode. That's it for this episode. Please comment your thoughts down below. If you enjoyed it, please smash that like button, share it around, and subscribe. Make sure to hit that bell for notifications to keep up to date on all my future content. And check me out on social media and alt tech. Links are in the description down below. This is Gojin the Makai Phantom, leaving the building.
Bye.
Stay awesome, people.
Bye.